Hola, good people, and welcome back to We Are the New Normal. Once again, I'm Sam, and it's good to see everybody here today. Today, I just wanted to talk about something that I think is extremely important, and that is to speak to those who love people who suffer with mental challenges, for family members, friends, co-workers even, just to give you a little bit of insight on how to be supportive of people who suffer without being offensive and without it driving you mad. So one of the first things that you should do when you are supporting someone who has a mental challenge is, number one, listen. Um, there may be a lot of things that that person doesn't know about being quote unquote normal. However, believe me, they are pretty much experts on what they personally go through. So when you see someone suffering, let's say they're having a bad day, they're having a moment, and they've isolated themselves, and you go towards them because you are concerned and you want to help them, the first thing that you must do is to listen. Um, when the person explains to you what they are going through, it probably will sound very Greek to you. It probably will sound like it's not making sense. It probably will sound illogical. But remember, to that person, it is very, very real. Some things that are illogical are very real to that person, and it is being able to bounce ideas off of someone like you that will help that person put things into perspective. So first off, before you just want to give advice, the first thing to do would be listen. Listen to what that person is going through. Listen to what is hurting them. Listen to the experience that they're having at the moment, and it gives you kind of sets a stage on how you can then proceed to help this person. So listening is key. Got my little notes here. Number two, when you are supporting someone who is suffering, you need to support with kindness. Believe me, I know that this point will be difficult. You have to have patience. You have to support without anger, without frustration. Things like that makes people who suffer very self-conscious, and that is counterproductive. They want to feel that you have come to them because you care. And if you show anger or frustration, unfortunately, that just takes them totally off focus. It makes them feel like they are burdening you. It makes them feel like it's hopeless. If you're upset, you're the person that loves them. If you're angry and you can't deal with it, then how's the world going to deal with them? So I don't know if you're a spiritual person or religious person. You might just have to say a prayer. You might have to woo-saw before you talk to this person. But it is difficult for them to deal with. If you think it's difficult for you to sit down and listen to what that person is going through and to deal with their issue on a secondhand basis, just try to put yourself in the perspective of the person who's really suffering firsthand. It's 10 times, 100 times more difficult. It's difficult for them to vocalize what they're going through. It's difficult sometimes to say it without sounding like they're crazy. And if someone really comes to you and is opening up, try to be non-judgmental. Try to watch the expressions on your face. It may surprise you, but be honest with them. Hey, that did shock me, but I'm here for you, and I want you to understand that, you know what, we're going to work through this together. Whatever words you need to use that you feel comfortable with, letting the person know that, hey, it is something that I don't experience, and it is a little bit different. I may not understand, but I want to. Let's talk it out. Let's see what we can do together. Anger and frustration is counterproductive when people are trying to share with you. The one thing that you have to remember, and it kind of makes it easier, is that that person does not want to be that way. If they are what you would call an asshole, if they are always pessimistic, if they're cynical, if they're just down, if they're a party pooper, whatever you'd like to call it or whatever you've categorized it as, nobody wants to be that way. Everyone wishes that they could live a happy, normal life and be the life of the party and talk and have friends and get along with everyone. So if someone is frustrating you, if someone is acting in a way that is unfavorable to you, the first bit of advice that I would give you is, remember, that person does not want to be that way. So instead of judging and be like, why are you so and why are you so, you got to have the patience of Job. And I know that it's asking a lot, but this is what it takes to help someone who is suffering. The last thing that they need is judgment. The last thing that they need is frustration. The last thing that they need is anger. And I know that that is asking a lot from family members, friends, and co-workers. Sometimes you just gotta woo-saw and come back because you love this person, and you'll try to work it out. So remember, they do not want to be that way. The empathy and the compassion that comes from you could mean all the difference in whether or not they get through what they are going through. And the last bit of advice, do some research. If you know what the person is diagnosed with, do some research. Look into the effects of that, how it manifests in that person, what are some of the causes, what are some things that you can do to help them, what are some of the right things to say to that person. Do some research, go online, and I tell my daughter this all the time. She's 18 and she keeps her phone in her face and she'll ask Siri all kinds of questions. Just Google it. You don't know what to say, just Google, hey, my best friend is really depressed and I don't know what to do. Google it. You don't have to have a bunch of scientific, perfectly crafted questions. You know you want to help, Google it. There is someone out there who has suffered with what you're going through, and they have an answer for you, or they may give you a little bit of insight and lead you in the right direction. So research is important. And I'm not talking about take hours and hours in the library and totally change your life on researching how to help this person, but a little bit of information goes a long way. And lastly, research can also come in the form of support groups. And I know it sounds weird, support groups. Support groups could just be you and your girlfriends decide every Friday you guys are going to get together and you guys unload what went on during the week. Get it off your chest, talk about it, get some feedback, get a different perspective. Or you find a group of people, of family members who have family members who suffer from mental illnesses, and you can get together and share your experiences, and they can tell you what has worked for them, and you have just an open forum where if you want to be angry or you want to be frustrated, that's a good place to get that out without having to take that out on the person who's suffering. So those are two ways that you could help, in addition to listening, being patient, being compassionate, and also remembering that that person does not want to be that way. They wish that they could be different. So it takes patience, love, and understanding to be able to help someone who suffers with a mental illness. So lastly, the last little bit of information, this gem that I'd like to drop on you is just a quote from Plato. And Plato says, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle." Let that melt on your mind. Thank you once again for coming. Thank you for sitting here watching me sweat in the golden, yummy sunshine. I love it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. You are good people. Have a good life.